Real simple question. Real simple question. How do you know when you have learned something? When you truly have learned something. I've heard all my life, or most of my life, people saying, I already know that. I learned that back in school. I learned that from my mom. I learned that from wherever. But how do you know when you really learned something? Application. You apply it to your life. Now, this can be sort of a slippery slope, this subject here, learning something, because there are people who are so invested in their pride and in their ego that they'll say things just to protect self from an emotional standpoint. In other words, people don't like to admit that they don't know something or that they haven't learned certain things in life. There's a lot of subjects. I mean, it's innumerable the amount of subjects that we can address. Let's take karate, for example. There are people who learn karate. I just use that as a generalization. But there are people who learn karate who are astute practitioners. They love it. They're invested in it. It's a career thing for them. It's a lifestyle for them. It is a way of life for them. And they know martial arts, which means that it's automatic to them. It's built into their muscle memory, the techniques and so forth, and they'll know even the history, much of it, as it relates to their particular system or style. That's knowing. Then there's, on the other hand, a group of people or a segment of the martial arts population, if you will, they say that they know something. But if you were to ask them to demonstrate it and then break it down, karate people like to call it bunkai. Show me the theory behind what you're doing or the purpose behind the movements, or even if there are any hidden movements. And all systems don't have necessarily hidden movements, but it's just a perfection of certain techniques and our strategies as it relates to fighting. So ask that person how something actually works, how to even step outside of the box and use various other variations of the same thing. They couldn't do it, they'd be lost. So do they really know? Do they really understand? Have they really learned? Okay. That's one example. Let's say swimming. There are people who say that they know how to swim because they have been near a pool or stood in the, not the 6 foot, but the 4 foot section of the pool, or they can go across one end. But if you were to jump off into the deep end of the pool, could you tread water? Could you swim across the pool and back? Or are you just only able to do certain things in a comfort zone, as it were? Do you really know how to swim? Now, what about cooking? It's another subject. There are people who swear that they know how to cook. Do you understand that cooking is more than just putting something in a microwave, having a meal to eat or a prepared type of meal that you just pull a piece of cellophane or a piece of paper off, or open a box up and put it in a pan and slide it in the oven? That's not cooking. That's done for you. But can you cook something from scratch? Can you even cook something and not necessarily have to have measuring spoons and cups, because you've done it so long, you know it very well? Can you cook in the oven? Can you bake food as opposed to just something that you're boiling on the stove, like rice, or hot dogs is already in the package, or maybe scramble some eggs? You couldn't possibly make too many mistakes with that just by sight. That's cooking. What about how to raise a child? Do you know how to do that? Have you learned how to raise a child? That's more than simply just buying clothing for them, buying video games and toys for them, birthdays and holidays and stuff like that, and taking them to school and back home, or sitting them in front of the television while you go do something else, making sure that they have something to eat every day. It's more to raising a child than just those physical things. It is. Raising a child, while I'm on that subject, means connecting with them mentally. Yes, having conversations with your child from here to there. Do you have quality conversations with your children? Or have you had quality, meaningful conversations with your children? Do you talk about life, not how to escape the system or finding shortcuts in life and how to beat the system, so to speak? Have you taught your children how to be independent? How to be able to buy for themselves? How to be able to survive in the world when they get to a certain accountable age where they can live alone and provide for themselves, provide a living for themselves? Do you know that? Have you learned that? How to raise a child? It's one of the most difficult jobs any human being will ever have, is to raise another mind in their home. It is. It's the hardest job. I don't care what job in the secular world that you ever find. It could be a physical job, construction work and so forth, or it can be at an office, it can be in a warehouse, it can be in a restaurant. It's not harder than raising a child, because there's an accountability thing there. One day the child is going to grow into a young adult and then a mature, middle class, middle-aged individual. And they owe it all to what you gave them or did not give them that they needed. So do you really know how to raise a child? Do you know how to deal with your significant other in a relationship? Or is it just simply physical? Have you learned that? Here we go again. There's another mind that you're dealing with under the same roof as you. You both have your own unique individual needs. It's not just about them, and it's not just about you. It's about both of you. Will we have ups and downs? Most definitely. Will we have disagreements? Most definitely. Will we become a little perturbed or even angry from time to time? Yes, we will. But that should never shake our relationship to the point where we want to leave that other person. So have you learned that? Have you learned how to deal with another person in your relationship, your personal, romantic, and life partner relationship? Have you learned that? The rabbit hole gets deeper. It does. So what I'm really trying to do is tell you this. We need to sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, question us. All of our problems, most of our problems are not always outside of us. We don't have to shine the spotlight on someone else all of the time. When oftentimes we just simply have to look at ourselves. Have you learned that? That was all I had to say. Much love. Yahweh loves you. Teacher loves you. Think on these things. So long.